Bizmap PTBO, Peterborough's business vlog. Each episode creates a business map to your success, showcasing why PTBO is the place to live, play, and prosper. Welcome to Bizmap PTBO. You may notice we're in a location that you may be familiar with, Kawartha TV and Stereo. Scott's a friend of mine. We've been working together, I think, almost 3 years now.
That's right.
And as you know, with Bizmap PTBO, we like to interview businesses who have a lot to offer in the community. And I can't think of anyone who has forgotten more than most know about their industry. Scott, tell us, how did you even start Kawartha TV and Stereo?
Well, it's a funny story. My brother was selling sewing machines door to door back in the early 70s. Actually, it was 1970. He was selling sewing machines, and he realized that he needed sewing machines. That's right, yeah.
Holy.
And he needed a retail space. So I think it was 1971. He opened up a store on the south side of Charlotte Street, beside the White House Hotel.
Oh.
It's still there. And anyways, he opened up the store and started selling sewing machines.
Oh, wow, that's amazing. How do you go from sewing machines to the evolution of Kawartha TV and Stereo?
Well, it was a great story. He tells it better than I do, but basically the sewing machine supplier also carried stereo systems. So he thought, well, I've got 4 sewing machines on the floor. They sell the rep at the time for the sewing machine supplier said, well, you should carry one of the stereo systems. So he put one on the floor.
In 1970?
1971.
Okay.
And that particular stereo sold almost immediately that day. So he needed another one. Money was short at the time, so he took the money from that one, drove to Toronto, bought another one, brought it back, put it in the store. It was there the next day, and he sold it.
Wow.
So he goes, well, okay, now I've got enough money to buy 2. So he drove to Toronto and bought 2 and sold them. And the rest is history. I mean, we started off with sewing machines, and the truth be known, I think we still have the original 4 sewing machines somewhere.
Wow. So I guess the company's name wasn't Kawartha TV and Stereo when it started then.
No, that's correct. It was Kawartha Sewing and Stereo Center Limited.
Wow, Kawartha Sewing and Stereo Limited. So why did they get out of the sewing machines then?
Well, the sewing machines, like I said, they basically sat on the floor and weren't selling. And at the time,
Sure.
the stereos, and then we morphed into TVs right away. They were selling like hotcakes. They were going off the floor, and the sewing machines weren't really selling anymore. So it was a real easy transition for my brother.
What kind of competition would he have had back then?
Back then, there was no box stores or chains or anything like that. So it was all locals, independents. The biggest TV one at the time was Gibson Star TV, and they were on George Street across from No Frills.
Wow.
And they were there, and Sam Gibson, that was his store, and he retired later on, but my brother actually and Sam ended up becoming good friends. So, but he was probably one of them, and there was a few other competition at the time. Later on, I guess it'd be the 80s, there was a chain called Crazy Crazies. They were in town. There was a few other independents as well, until the chains and the box stores moved in.
Well, how did you get involved?
Well, it was about 33 years ago. I was out west, actually. My brother called me and he said, I want you to come and join the business. And I said, okay. I would say about 5-6 weeks later, I came and joined the business, and the rest is history. I've been here ever since. There is a bit of there's a gap between our ages. We're 17 and a half years between our ages, so he's long since retired, of course. But at the time, I think he was just working his way into that position, and he wanted somebody that here, family-wise, that could be at the wheel at some point.
That's fantastic. But what an evolution. I mean, now when you think of electronics, there are so many competitors, box stores, online. How do you even compete?
That's true. There is a lot of competitors now. Competition. Well, the biggest thing that I can attribute to us competing is we're part of an enormous buying group. It's a Canadian buying group, electronics buying group. And they have, our buying group has 600 storefronts across Canada, West Coast to East Coast, all the way across every province. And so if I'm interested in buying 50 TVs, between our buying group, that 50 could turn into 1,000 TVs very easily.
Wow.
So we get the deals that the box stores would get. So we're getting the same kind of pricing because we're part of this buying group. So it's worked out very, very well.
That's fantastic. I didn't realize that. So the buying group for electronics. So you are in electronics, televisions, stereos, cameras, appliances?
Appliances,
What?
yeah,
Does
I
that
know.
make any sense?
I know it should be Kawartha TV and stereo and appliances limited. Yeah. Well, believe it or not, a lot of people don't even know this. There's a few of us who will remember. It was 35 years ago we were into appliances. Our main line was Admiral, and I'm sure a lot of viewers will remember Admiral back in the day. And we had appliances down in our appliance room was in the basement. When if you saw our basement now, you're wondering how we ever got them appliances down there. But anyways, we got out of it, and our buying group suggested that we get back into it again. They knew that Sears was slowly closing, and Sears have a huge gap. They were one of the strongest appliance outlets in town for years and years and years. So hoping to get a piece of that business down the road, so we started into appliances. And we're carrying 4 lines now, and we've taken about 25% of our space in the store and dedicated to appliances.
That's interesting. So I thought you got into appliances because of things like Google Home and Siri, and the fact that
Alexa, yeah.
Alexa, thank you. And that's what I was stalling for, because you know much more about it than I do. And the whole smart home ability, because now you've got your electronics that you are, an expert in, then that you sell. And it makes sense to me that you also can control through your electronics your security systems, which you guys sell, but also your appliances now, which is so cool. So the only problem with this whole concept of appliances, Scott, is if I'm not home, I've got my washer full of stuff, and I want it to start. Now I need to train my dog, I think, to take it from the washer into the dryer. That part doesn't make any sense to me, but I digress. Sorry.
Yeah.
But
good luck with that.
Yeah, thanks. But you guys, when I'm here, I often see people coming in with their boxes and stuff. Do you guys do a lot of service? We don't talk about that as often as
Yes.
I think we should.
Right from the get-go, I would say probably within a year after we opened, we had our in-house service department. And we've always had technicians on site. We've had 3 locations. We're on the south side of Charlotte, then we're on the north side of Charlotte, and then we've been in this location for, I guess, about 34 or 35 years now.
I forgot to ask. So you've been here for 34 years.
That's right.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, maybe even a little longer, but right around there.
Here being the bargain corner
yeah,
of...
bargain corner, yeah, 188 Park Street South on the bargain corner.
You know,
Park and Lansdowne, that's right.
If you Google bargain corner of, you guys come up.
Should be in the Webster's Dictionary.
Yeah, it should be. Bargain corner, Peterborough. You guys come up. Kawartha TV and stereo. It's pretty good.
I like the way you think.
No, it's true. I've Googled it because I forgot how to spell bargain at one point. And you guys came up first thing. Sorry. I digress.
I have to say our service department.
Yeah.
I mean, service has changed over the years. Unfortunately, it's a bit of a throwaway world. But back in the day, I would say we had about 8 or 9 on staff, just service.
Yeah.
With 6 full-time technicians, 2 full-time employees, and then a part-time clerk on the weekends for taking product in. But yeah, so we still have a full service department. We have still 2 full-time technicians, and we service stereos, TVs, everything. Basically, if it plugs into the wall, we service it.
So to me, service must be a part of the business that's important. If I want to buy something online, or if I want to buy something local, if I want to buy something from a box store, I would think service has got to set you apart.
Absolutely, and there's more ways than one to look at service. So service, right off the bat, is you think that it's a soldering gun and you're fixing a circuit board, but that's not necessarily. So many people might want to know how to actually hook up their TV the proper way, or plug their stereo in the proper way, or have a question about a remote, how to program it to run another device. We consider that service as well, which you wouldn't get online at all.
One of the things we like to do in Bizmap is share with businesses how they can use some of your knowledge to help improve their own business or expand. And one of the things I see you doing really well is, I don't want to say beating up, but working with your manufacturers and your suppliers. I think that's huge for you. I mean, you've got all sorts of different relationships with them that you've nurtured. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, of course. Being having a close relationship with your suppliers is huge important. Whether it's a supplier that maybe you're only selling a few of their pieces a year or many thousands of their pieces a year, having a good relationship really works well. If there is a deal to be had, they might call you first, and things like that. So I highly
That's
recommend.
cool.
And dealing local too. For when we're talking suppliers, it's not always the big manufacturers like the Panasonics and the Samsungs of the world. We're dealing local too with certain suppliers as well. So I deal local as much as I possibly can, from anything from construction to office supplies to to carpet to whatever we need in the store. So I do highly recommend anybody that they should always deal as much local as possible. As you end up being gets paid forward for sure, and what goes around comes around.
Well, you
So-
support so many local businesses and what you do as far as contests. Well, you'll include a local restaurant for Valentine's. I mean, you do so much
Exactly,
of that, which is very cool. What advice would you have for a business in Peterborough that's in a competitive environment like yours? What advice would you have for themselves to succeed?
Well, first of all, have a good business plan and be honest, 100% honest. If you do have a customer crossing through your door or even online in a question and you can't answer the question off the top of your head, find out the proper answer, the right answer, and then let them know right away. Like I said before, deal local as much as you can. If I'm buying something from somebody local, they're going to probably buy from me, or at least I hope they would buy from me. So I would say, have a good business plan, be honest, stick to your plan, talk to other businesses around, maybe other businesses. I have a pretty good relationship with a few stores that are about the same size of us in Ontario, and we call each other once or twice a week and just sort of touch base on
Wow.
what's going on.
That's often.
And I use that. That's a huge tool for me. And the same size business, same type of business. So I would say stay informed.
Yeah, stay
Yeah.
informed. And it sounds like you have a learning with these people. You're constantly learning from each other, those other few businesses that you speak to often.
Yeah, that's right. And that's sort of the behind the scenes stuff that you can't really get taught. You sort of learn through osmosis, I guess, after a while. And our buying group, being part of a buying group doesn't hurt. And there's many buying groups out there for different businesses. And ours in
Different
particular,
industries?
different
Really?
industries,
Oh, I didn't know
whatever
that.
you're in, yeah. So it could be
That would-
anything from office supplies to furniture to mattresses to, in our case, is electronics. So there are different buying groups out there. Most buying groups have portals where you can go on and learn about products, and ours does for sure. So our staff here are always continually updating their technology and their knowledge of the product. And these are these portals. You just go online, learn about the new products that are coming out, and stay informed and stay on top of it.
Well, that's fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing
Thank
your
you.
wisdom with Bizmap today. I really appreciate that.
That was great. Thanks very much, Sophie.
My
Okay.
pleasure.